Welcome back to Nature's Cadence Farm. Today we're going to be working on our 2001 Jeep Grand Cherokee. And this is Frank. So we picked up Frank a few years back. In fact, there's an oil change video on this vehicle right up here. And this is Frank is not on the road yet, but we did pick up Frank as a kind of a replacement vehicle. So I'm going to get Frank ready to get onto the road. First thing we need to do though is get these brakes fixed. This is the front, and we knew when we bought Frank that we were going to have an issue with these brakes because we were on a test drive and they were starting to grab really bad. And you can see I've got it jacked up, and you can rotate them, but they're really tight. So that's okay. I went on online and I found a whole set of parts for Frank. And so I've got this the new rotors to go on here. I've got new calipers to go on, and I've got a whole new set of pads. So we're going to get the front and the rear brakes done on this all new everything except for hoses, and I could get hoses and put them on later if I decide I need to once I get in here and start looking at them. But let's get started. First thing we're going to do is pop this tire off, and we'll get in here and start looking at what's behind door number one. Got a 19 millimeter on my Milwaukee fuel impact gun, 1/2-inch drive. This is the high torque model. We're just going to run these nuts off of here and get this tire out of the way. Looks like it was pretty much due for some brake pads anyways. These rotors aren't terrible. I've seen worse. But we're definitely going to put some new rotors on here. Get that going. So next up we need to get this caliper out of the way. It looks like we've got maybe some retention bolts back here. We need to pop these caps off of. Looks like there's Allen heads inside of there. This little cap right here. So we'll get that out of the way. Put that back in there so I don't lose it. So let's get this caliper out. So I went ahead and turned the wheels all the way to the right. So I took the steering wheel and turned the key on there and just rotated it all the way. And that gave me a little bit more access to this caliper and all the brake pads and everything. So the next thing we need to do is go ahead and take this caliper bolt out. And this caliper bolt bolts into the caliper bracket. So we don't need to take the bracket off. We just need to take the caliper itself off. So I've got a T45, and that's what I've got it on, a 3/8 ratchet. And all these tools, I'm going to put a link down in the description too. So let's see if we can get this popped loose. Oh yeah, there we go. All right, so we got that one loosened up. Now let's go down here. So to get this bottom bolt out, need to use that T45 again. And then I've got a 6-inch extension to kind of get this head away from the hose mount right here. Let's see if we can get this thing in here and get it to move. There we go. Got it. Oh, that's good. Always scary backing these caliper bolts out because they sit there and get hot and cold, and road salt all over them and water all over them. So that's nice that they went ahead and backed out of there. I'm just going to try to slide these bolts back so they clear the caliper bracket. So let's use this pry bar here. So I'm going to get behind the little lip of that bolt and just pop it back there, just like that. Next up, I've got this rubber type hammer here. So I'm going to try to beat the caliper to loosen up the tension that it's got on this rotor. And maybe we'll try prying up on it, see if we can get it to move a little bit. Yeah, looks like we got it to move some. But I've got these retention springs here that look like they hold the caliper to the bracket. So we're going to get those out of the way. There we go. just using this pry bar to get these things moving in the right direction. I don't think there's anything on the back side. Let's see if we can get it to move now. Yeah, these we could also try possibly rigging up something with a C-clamp to collapse this caliper a little bit. But let's see if we can just keep working on it like this. Sometimes you just got to get a little aggressive with it, but it'll come off of there. It wants to come off. There we go. Just about got it now. And I'm not going to unhook this old, there's one of the old brake pads. Not going to unhook this hose quite yet. I'll just lay the caliper up here out of the way to, help get the rest of this crap off of the way. So these, you can see these pads here, they weren't bad, but they're getting low. And this one here was not too bad either, but again, they've got a lot of age on them. Get this caliper bracket off right here. We're going to need to get this 18mm head bolt out. So I've got an 18mm socket, 3-inch extension on a 1/2-inch drive, and the Milwaukee high torque impact. So let's see if we can get this thing out of here. Oh yeah, came right out. Perfect. So that's what the bolt looks like. Next up, we need to get this one out up here. So let's see if we can figure out what we need to do to get that out of there. It looks like it's going to be a little tight. Well, maybe. Get that out of the way. I think we'll be able to get the impact gun in there. Let's try that out. Oh yeah, perfect. There we go. So once the caliper bracket's out of the way, that gives us access to get this brake rotor off. So we'll use our hammer here again. See if we can start getting something to move. Okay, we might need a little something more aggressive than the rubber hammer. So I'm going to go get a sledgehammer. And again, if you're trying to save these rotors, you might not want to do this. But I have brand new ones, so I don't really care. Looks like the old sledgehammer did pretty good. The kit was pretty nice. It came with this label here on the rotor, so you didn't have to figure out the drilled and slotted kind of stuff. Front driver's side. That's what we need, front driver's side. So this is going to go in place right here. And it fits. There we go. I've got the new rotor slid in place, and I went ahead and used a lug nut to hold the rotor kind of steady because it just wanted to flop over. It was kind of hard to get this caliper bracket back in place. So with the kit that I got, and again, the links will be below, it comes with a new caliper bracket, slides, guides, bushings, and all the cool stuff. So that's kind of a sweet deal. So what we'll do is we'll just get this caliper bracket bolted in here, because we're going to get the new pads put on and the new caliper put on here in just a second. Alright, so I got those started by hand. Now what we'll need to do is get the impact gun and the 18mm socket again to run these up. So we can go ahead and take this lug nut off before I forget and try to put the tire on. Got our new brake pads here. These came in the kit too. These are the front pads. And they all look exactly the same. So these little spacers go in here, and that's what helps hold the pad in the right place. Just like that. But what I'm going to do is come through here and grease all this stuff up so everything moves nice and smooth. Go ahead and get this caliper installed. We've got all the other hardware in and done. Looks like the nut part, the threaded part, needs to be kind of interfaced with that right there. Got a 17 millimeter for these, the new bolts that go in here instead of the old Torx, the T45s. So that's kind of nice. It's just a normal socket. There we go. Yeah, what a nice setup. I think pretty nice. Looks like everything will float just fine. And right here I've got the bolt that goes in for the new hose, or the old hose, into the new caliper. The installation kit came with 2 new crush washers, and these go on either side of the old caliper, or I'm sorry, the old hose right here. So one will go right here on this side, and then one will go on this side here. So what I'll do is go ahead and get this off of here, move you up there so you can see a little bit better. Don't know what size that is, so let's go to our socket and find out. This is a 17 millimeter. Well, it's definitely not that. So I'll go down to the next size and I'll see if I can find one that fits. And it looks like a 14 millimeter will fit perfectly. To put that in our impact, back that off, and it should start leaking brake fluid everywhere, which is perfect. That's just what I wanted. So we can make sure that no air gets in the line. There we go. So like I was saying, there should be, well, there was one, it's probably still stuck on the caliper. And then here's the other crush washer that's on the other side there. So we'll make sure this hole is nice and clean, and that goes through the center of that bolt right there, and all that looks like it's flowing perfectly fine. So we'll grab our new crush washer, get that in place, and our hose again. See if we can get this thing lined up. Is that how it was? Yeah, that's how it was. Alright, so we'll slide our bolt back in and our crush washer, and then we'll get it started on the caliper right here. Let me get you down there so you can see that. There you go. So I've got the nut, I'm sorry, the bolt and the block there, and then my 2 washers on either side. And they go into the caliper, or this bolt goes into the caliper. Hopefully it threads in there. There we go. I'll say I'm hoping that was the same threads. That would be my luck, but it is, thankfully. So everything should be okay. Not too tight on that, just tight enough if we need to tighten it up later. I didn't go guns a-blazing on it or anything, but it was it's on there for sure now. So there you go. We need to bleed air out of the caliper now. So what I'm going to do is pop this rubber plug off like that, and we're going to crack this valve open. I'm going to keep that rubber plug because I would like to use it later. And it feels like it is a 10 millimeter. So we're going to need a 10 millimeter. And I've got my impact here. This will be plenty. We don't need to run it all the way out. We just need to back it out so fluid comes out of this vent right here. So I'm going to go run and get a hose real quick. I'm going to run this in and close it off. Again, 10 millimeter. So I'm gonna go get a hose and let it drip into a jar while we're waiting. I've just got a hose hooked up here, and you can see it goes just to this jar here that I use for the vacuum pump to reclaim stuff, and I'll probably use that actually uh, to bleed the brake system also. But nonetheless, that'll work for now. Let's put this, whatever this is, probably ABS sensor or something, back in place. This wire. There we go. It's perfect there. And our brake line and hose look like they are going to be good to go. So we'll make sure this is hooked up there. Don't see it starting to drip yet. No, it's not. But with it being open like that, it'll just expedite the gravity, will feed the brake fluid through the hose, through the connector, fill up the pistons here, and then allow it to come out of this fitting. And again, we'll have to bleed the brakes, but this will definitely get that process started while we're doing the other side.